What does gamification have to do with software development? I am Olivier, co-founder and CTO of Avalia Systems, and in this video I'm going to answer this question in 3 steps. Step 1, I'm going to explain why it makes sense to consider gamification when it comes to support agile software development teams. Step number 2, I'm going to explain how to concretely implement gamification and how to use a software analytics platform to build these gamification apps. Step number 3, I'm going to show that it actually works by presenting a specific case study. Indeed, gamification is very relevant in the context of software development, and I would start with 2 observations. The first observation is that software engineering is of course a very technical activity, but it's also a very social activity. And for this reason, psychology plays a huge role in the performance of individuals and teams. The second observation is that continuous improvement, supported by continuous feedback, is a key principle of agile approaches. Every agile team should do a self-assessment on a regular basis. The team should define specific improvement goals, such as increasing the quality or the pace of delivery. The team should then identify the target behaviors that can help move towards these goals. This could be the intention to write more tests or the adoption of a new automation practice. And finally, everybody in the team should commit to adopt or to reinforce the target behavior. At this stage, anything that can be done to nudge people is interesting and valuable. And this is exactly what gamification is about. Gamification is about triggering and driving behavioral change. In the context of software development, behavioral change can lead to better quality, more speed, but also to satisfaction and employee retention. This shows that gamification can have financial impacts that can be measured. To build a gamification app, you typically need first to measure some sort of activity. Then you need to analyze this activity, you need to create a model, and finally you need to create representations of the model in order to give feedback to people. You want to steer them in the right direction using these representations. So how do we do that in the context of software development? The notion of software analytics provides a very nice framework to do that, so let me introduce it briefly. If you think about it, software developers use a lot of different tools in their day-to-day activities. They write source code in IDEs, they use version control systems, they use agile planning and ticketing systems. They also use tools to get live feedback from production systems, both from a technical and usage point of view. All these tools generate a huge amount of data, and if you analyze this data, then you have a great way to understand the activities and the behaviors of people. But you also have a great way to measure the impact of these behaviors. Having said that, a software analytics platform is a software system that allows you to connect to all these data sources, to process the streams of incoming data, and finally to present information through different types of user interfaces. So most of the time, this means providing some sort of dashboard with analytics and data visualization widgets. When we started to work on Agile Boosters, we extended the Avalia software analytics platform, and in addition to our standard dashboards, we started to create more abstract ways to represent activity and progress. One motivation was to trigger curiosity of people and to engage them. Another motivation was to have a way to give feedback at the periphery of users' attention on a continuous basis. We've been doing research on ambient user interfaces and CAN technologies for a very long time, and so we knew that this was a very effective approach for what we were trying to do. Does it work in practice? Well, I've seen it work with many different teams, but let me share a concrete example. A few years ago, we were working with Softplan, which is a large tech company in Brazil. Softplan develops ERP systems across different verticals. At the time, we were working with Guilherme Brazil. The CTO was driving a large transformation program within one of Softplan's divisions. Our first mission was to conduct a data-driven due diligence to assess his organization, and we looked at the code, the processes, and the human dimensions. One opportunity that was identified during the assessment was the adoption of a social coding platform like GitHub or GitLab. Combined with other inner source practices, this would lead to increased collaboration, more automation, better code, and better documentation. This was really seen as a key step to create a culture of engineering excellence in the organization. Investing in people was a very important thing for Guilherme, and this also meant upskilling the existing employees. Having made the decision to adopt GitLab, the first step was to move from a centralized version control system to Git, the underlying system. So we prepared a course for Softplan, we gave lecturers to introduce Git concepts, Git commands, and modern development workflows. The timing for the migration was critical and the schedule was quite aggressive. So it was important that developers would not only attend the training, but that they would also do the exercises that we prepared for them on a regular basis so that they would really become familiar with usage of Git. In other words, consistency was key and was really the behavior that we wanted to influence. So in order to nudge and motivate people, we designed the Aquarium, a fairly simple gamification apps that we used during the training period. To deliver this Aquarium, we did three things. One, we designed a simple exercise to put Git workflows and commands in practice. Doing the exercise one time would not take too much time, something like 10 minutes. But in order to really master the commands, the developers would need to do it many times over a 2-week period. Two, we connected our software analytics platform to GitLab. Doing that, we had access to the stream of activities. We know when people were doing the exercises, and we knew if they had problems or not. Finally, we designed a very basic rule system to create a model for the behavior of the class, and we created a visual representation of this model. The visualization was projected on a public display located in the open space. Here is how it works. Every developer in the team is represented by a fish. As you complete the exercise, your fish moves up the aquarium. But very soon it starts drifting lower and lower. That means that in order to maintain your fish in the upper part of the tank, you need to do the exercise on a regular basis. Just glancing at the aquarium gives you a sense for the activity in the whole team. And this is helpful to identify problematic situations. Of course, if you see that fishes are all sitting at the bottom of the aquarium, it means that there is a problem with the training. At this point, you can move to a more traditional representation, like a dashboard, to really analyze the situation and understand the details. So, what did we observe? First, the aquarium was a very effective trigger. It prompted many developers to do the exercise the first time, just because they were curious and they wanted to see their fish appear on the screen. More importantly, it prompted conversations between developers. At the coffee break, talking about the aquarium led to talk about Git in general, but then also about the broader goals of modernizing processes and tools. And last but not least, it just worked. The transition to Git was a success. It was celebrated as a milestone by the team and the management. Of course, the transition was not successful just because of the aquarium, but the aquarium contributed to create this culture of continuous feedback and continuous improvement. And it also gave the opportunity to celebrate progress. People were happy and proud to have leveled up, and this was a key outcome of the experiment. If you are involved in software development, then I hope that this story will inspire you to try something similar. To gamify the software development process, it's possible to use all sorts of metrics and to present them to people in surprising ways. In our projects, we use code metrics, process metrics, but also business metrics to make teams more conscious of the impact of their work. We have seen that even simple gamification apps can be very effective to inform and to drive people. But beyond these apps, the real magic happens when you open the software analytics platform to the teams. When they start to play with the data fabric, with these streams of technical and business data. When they start building their own apps, then something happens. They start to more systematically connect the dots between technical decisions and business impact. And when this happens, the whole organization makes a big step forward.